Let's go.
Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast, where we expand your personal universe. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in each episode, Soul Fam co-founder, co-creator Lexi Strummer-Solden and I interview the world's most rising and longtime experts in consciousness, spirituality, entertainment, healing, and science. From Earth's dimensions and dimensions way, way beyond. On the Soul Fam podcast, our frequencies are high and your heart chakras will open as these powerful voices of today share cutting-edge research, profound experiences, and valuable knowledge for your world in this out-of-this-world, thought-provoking, envelope-pushing interviews that could only take place right here on the Soul Fam podcast. Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast. I'm Diana Marquetta, and on this week's episode, Gayle Fowler of Gifts in Westminster, Colorado, is joining us. If you get to the end of this entire episode, I hope you will like and subscribe, and please visit Gayle. I think you'll be amazed by some of the gifts that she has to share, some of her insights, and her background as an urban shaman, which is entirely different than a shaman, and also her work in metaphysical. So please welcome Gayle today. She's going to share some fascinating stories with us about her background growing up in Hawaii and then her more recent encounters with forest people.
Thank you, Diana. Thanks for reaching out to me. This is interesting. I grew up in Hawaii. I live in Colorado now. I've had a lot of diversity growing up. But what's interesting for me when you say an urban shaman or even a shaman, in Hawaii, we call it a kahuna. Kahuna is a person who has mastered a particular area. So for me, I did not know a lot about the Native American experiences or other things beyond Hawaii. So a lot of things that happened to me when I moved from Hawaii to Colorado in, I think it was 96. I brought what I was taught or what I came with, in essence, my beliefs and things. And then I met some amazing people along the way. Growing up in Hawaii, I'm of Japanese ancestry, but most of us who grew up in Hawaii, superstition was not necessarily superstition. We believed in it. There's so many stories of different cultures. The Hawaiian side of it, there's who they call the night marchers. And the night marchers, like some people, when they go to Hawaii, that's what they're told. The night marchers, you may see them walking like a procession with torches. And who they are actually the guards who are bringing forward royalty. So one of the stories we were told that if you see that, either run away, don't hang around to try to see, or if you happen to be in the middle of it, don't look up. And you'll feel somebody push your head down if this occurs. So these little stories that we had growing up, we just believed in it. There was no questions about it. If a place is haunted, we all knew, I mean, there's a story on the Pali Highway. They'll say, do not have pork in your car. Pork? You're like, why pork? Well, the story is that the Menehunis, or I guess you could say, they are like leprechauns in a way. They're actually architects, but they're very mischievous, and they love pork. So they'll stop the vehicle until you get rid of the pork. You take it out of your car and throw it aside. Then your car goes. It's bizarre, but we'd have all these different experiences. So that was normal for me, But talking about other things that I personally experienced, that was a no-no. Number one, it made my mom afraid. My parents got divorced when I was pretty young, but she was afraid of all of this stuff. So she wouldn't let me, talk about it. She said, people will think you're crazy, or if I'll say, Mommy, there's a ghost in that room. She goes, don't go in there. So it wasn't something that I fully embraced. It was just me. And it wasn't until I got a little older that I realized this is not normal. Like normal in the sense that others don't experience this.
Did that
So
make
unfortunately, it can help. Go ahead.
that make you feel dismissed at all as a child? And then did you find as you as you matured or as you got older that these were really gifts? They weren't just weirdnesses or they weren't oddities.
Well, it took a while. I would say till my maybe early 20s that I started to realize that this is actually not a bad thing. This is not something to be afraid of. So it was a long journey for me, but it's interesting because I'd always say I was born this way. I couldn't tell you how it developed. Some people say it's from trauma, which, I did have trauma growing up. So there could be part of it, meaning that I became very sensitive to energies and, sensitive to my surroundings. So that could be a part of it. But regardless, this is who I am. And so things like I could feel portals or vortex or sense and sometimes see spirits, crystals. Oh my gosh, those like I can feel all the energies. So there's so many things that it's just natural for me, including now. It's like I could be talking to people and then either a guide or someone who's passed may just pop in and somebody that I may not even know. And in the beginning, I wouldn't say nothing. Absolutely not. But then my Reiki master teacher, Marnie Venkolisi, said, what if I told you that was part of the healing process and that you're just a channel or a vessel and to share it? So I was like, I don't know, Marnie. And I'm very analytical too. So I was like, let me do some test cases. And then I found out that, wow, that is real. So I think once I started to accept my gifts, if you want to call it, other things started happening, including the encounters with the people of the forest or the forest people, or AKA Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
So was that happening in Colorado or did you find that growing up in Hawaii as well?
I actually experienced things in Hawaii, but since I had the experience I had great mentors and great friends, and my friend Garrett Duncan, who's Navajo, he started taking us to these interesting places, and that's when I started experiencing things. So keep in mind, I grew up in Hawaii and I pretty much stayed there. We did a few traveling to maybe California or to Las Vegas in Nevada, but not much traveling. So as I met my friends, my community here, I started venturing out. And then my gifts of sensing and things started picking up a whole bunch more things. And, I would always, especially for me in the beginning, I have to ask Garrett, did you experience that too, or did I make it up? It was that doubting myself. So he helped a lot. And I've had several friends along the way that's helped me kind of gain the self-confidence. I can't remember who told me this, but with my doubts and needing to have the proof, she told me one day, she goes, Gayle, do you lie? I said, no. She goes, do you make things up? I said, no. She goes, then why would you start now? And so that made me go, she's right. So then I started to just blurt out my experiences. This is what happened. Some people experienced the same things I did, something similar. So I got validation that, no, you didn't make this up. And then I had people believing in what I was experiencing, people who I felt I was well respected, like people in the Bigfoot community, Sasquatch community. I would just share what I was receiving, and they were so fascinated. And I'm going, don't you experience this too? I mean, you're the expert here. But then I realized not everyone experiences it the same way. So it's taken me a while.
Let's back up just a little bit and tell me a little bit about your experience with your great great grandfather.
Okay. So I can't remember. I think I was not in school yet. So I was pretty young and I was still living in Hawaii. He passed. And I remember I had what I thought was a dream. But the dream was very interesting because the colors were very vivid. Also, my bedroom that I shared with my younger sister, my older sister at the time, was nice and clean, which is very rare, having two young kids in the same room. But then there was an interesting piece in the dream was there was a little nightstand that was in my parents' bedroom, but for some reason it was in my room between our two twin beds. And there was his urn. And then he came out of the urn and sat in the bed across from me. So it's just myself and my great grandfather. And then he started talking to me, but unfortunately he spoke Japanese and I didn't. So I didn't quite know what he was saying. So I ran to my parents' room, I said, I said, Gigi, which is what I called him. I said, Gigi came to visit me. And my dad's like, oh, it's just a dream. Go back to sleep. So, as a child, you're like, well, no, I didn't feel that way. And as I got older, and I was mentioning before, these visitations, as I call them, the clarity and the memory of it, it's like as if it just happened yesterday or last night. And so I was thinking about the situation. I actually talked to my paternal grandmother about that dream, and she said that that time when he passed, it was around my birthday. And what I guess, I don't know if it's Japanese culture or, in general, you don't celebrate when somebody's passed. So my aunt, my grandma's sister-in-law, and my grandma decided, no, it's not fair. We're going to have a cake for Gayle. And my other aunts were all, like, no, you can't do that. That's bad luck and all these things. So I was wondering as I got older, I wonder if that was something psychological that put in my mind, my analytical brain going. But then I realized that the emotions that I felt from my great grandfather was more of a comforting and like saying, it's okay. And so then it made sense. He came to see me to reassure me that it was okay that I did celebrate my birthday.
So sweet.
So I've had that throughout my lifetime.
So then fast forward to Colorado and your encounters, so to speak, with the forest people. We've talked a lot on the podcast about talking with trees and talking with other elementals. So I was so curious about you because you described this as forest people, and I am curious if that's another level of elementals that perhaps hasn't really been discussed as much.
So it's funny that you say elementals because that's what I believe they are. Some people may say, oh, they came from the stars and, and they're here. I mean, there may be many ways that they arrived, but for me, I feel them as elementals and part of nature. So it really was interesting how I connected with them in Colorado. There was a person named Kiwoni Lopseritis, and we met him in Estes Park at the what's called a Star Knowledge Conference. Mm-hmm. So he told my friend Garrett Duncan, one of my friends and mentors, about how he connected with the Sasquatch and about how we can work with them. So Garrett actually went to his presentation. I was vending at the time too, so I was busy. I didn't get to go. But what happened was during this discussion, Kiwoni had mentioned that you just need to ask for them to help you. And what happened was Garrett was like, yeah, okay, well, we're going to do this. We're hungry. Okay, I want a supreme pizza. He's saying that. And then his friend next to him says, don't forget, I think it was, what was it, pepperonis or mushrooms or one. No, don't forget to add the mushrooms, and they were laughing. So they came out of that, they went back to their booth, getting ready for dinner, and guess what was there? A pizza box. They opened the pizza box, and I think it was mushroom. So when they opened the box, and there was a big mushroom in the center, and they were like, oh my God. So Garrett shared that with us, and then he started doing connections with the Sasquatch on the spiritual realm. So that's how I started connecting with them. And it wasn't until we went to, in New Mexico, to the Navajo reservation, up into the mountains. That was my first encounter. But we had worked with them mainly on the spiritual side. We, some physical things would manifest. But I think it was the second night that we were there. And we decided that we bought like corn and things, we call it offerings. And we were going to put it on the stump. Well, the stump was kind of far up. And now I'm a girl who roughing it was KOA. And this camping, there's no lights, so no electricity, no running water, and there's an outhouse. And there's cows that go around there. So the city girl was more concerned about stepping into cow patties. And then Garrett goes, no flashlights, because we had a nice moon out. It's like, okay, so I think I was carrying some corn. So we walked up and it's like slight incline. It's probably maybe 25 feet away or something. And there were big hoots and calls and yells and howls. I mean, it was coming from different directions. Sounded like a lot of people. So I was like, was there a ceremony or something that just came out and people are celebrating? He goes, Garrett says, no, it's them. I said, them who? He goes, the Sasquatch. And all of us, there were probably 8 of us, we all stopped. And I felt that wave of heat coming in, the fear. And he goes, don't be afraid. Stay in your heart space. It's like, okay. But we felt them. And the sounds we could feel it like hitting our bodies. And you could hear it. And it was all over the place, from different directions. So he says, okay, so go up there, which was a little dark, and go place your offerings. And we're all like, I don't want to go. He goes, okay, you can go 2 at a time. So we literally went up there, kind of like ran up, put it down, can run back. So that was the first thing we're going, but we didn't see any. We just heard them and felt their presence. Then on the last day, as we were going, Garrett had taken us out and it was like a logging road. And he had said, down below, you can see the remnants of a sweat lodge that his grandfather had built. So there's a couple people. In fact, Garrett and this other person were right behind me. So I'm looking for it, and then I stop. I'm like, what is that? And it looked like a very, very tall person or something. But I saw it from the back. It had beautiful black, long hair, shiny, just going down all the way back. And I'm like, and I don't know what to say. And Garrett, I'm trying to get his attention as I'm looking. And he goes, what? And I said, look. And it was gone. And so people say, well, what did you say? I said, I don't know what I saw. I said, maybe it was somebody else. They go, there's nobody else up here. I said, a raven? They said, you know what you saw. I said, I don't know what I saw. They go, you know what I saw. You said, well, if it's supposed to be the Sasquatch, it didn't look like any I seen on TV. But that was my first encounter. And when we had gone back in October, Garrett was able to connect and we found there was actually a portal there. And so we got a name. It started with an E. But she was actually not necessarily from here on this planet. She came through the portal. So I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And how come I'm the only one who saw it?
So did you feel like that was a star person, or did you feel that that's a member of the forest people?
So what I got was she was a member of the forest people, but she did not live on this planet. This is what Garrett got in his connection. So she was more like a star being. And that's where I started to learn that there were different types of the forest people per se, or Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them. Some were not from here, and they did come through portals, and they would come in, and I don't know where they're like scientists coming, or they're just checking. I don't know the whole story of it, but I do know that some chose to live on this planet, which I think is what a lot of the sightings that we're seeing. And I actually found when we were driving to Chihuahua, Washington, to go to one of the other Sasquatch conferences. Well, as we were driving there, I was receiving a message, and I'm going, okay, guys, because this is new to me. I'm like, all right, this is so weird. This is what I got. They're like, what did you just got? I said, I don't want to say it out loud, but this is not a nice word, but I'm going to use it. I said, I was told that some of the beings, the forest people, de-evolved, and so they don't use the technology. They're living as primitives in that sense. And so some of them may not be as nice as those that actually work with us. There's a different group. So I was just like, is that for real? What do you guys think? So as I've gone, along the years, it's made sense to me that, it's kind of fitting in. As I said, I'm analytical, so I want to try to make the puzzle pieces fit, right? So I've learned to just start to just accept and to believe and to trust.
So have you had conversations? Even if it's telepathic, have you had conversations with them about what's happening now on this planet? And is there a reason? Is there a purpose for them being here? Or is it like, well, this is just sort of normal communication? normal going back and forth?
So my first connections with them were more on the spiritual realm. So I would receive messages, and that's also when I found out I was a channel. They would speak through me. But the funny thing is, because I'm such a control freak, that when they would come through, I don't know where I go, but I was not present. So a friend of mine started recording what was said. And so they have said things, and it's been recorded, and I've shared some of the messages, and then I have to go and listen to the recording to hear what was said. So they've done that. But when I think it was our last event at Chihuahua, second to the last event, we were out, and it was probably 2 a.m. We had got up, we set up everything for the retreat because we were presenting and we were vending. And it was 2 a.m, and I had 2 friends from Australia there, and myself and another friend from Colorado. And we were outside just talking, and I'm looking, going, because I'm facing the forest, and my friend from Australia's were like here and here type of thing, and my other friend here. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. We're standing in the 4 directions, and then we started to figure out, like, well, which way is east? And I'm like, well, I lived on an island, so I'm really directionally challenged when it comes to anywhere else. But I said, isn't it where the sun rises in the east, right? Isn't that how it works? And my friend goes, not in Australia. And so we're talking, and then I happen to notice that it looks like, to me, a headlight of a motorcycle, kind of like silverish white, and it looks like it's in the trees, but I'm thinking there must be a road back there. So then I said, hey guys, do you know if there's a road back there? They're like, there's no road back there. And I said, okay. And then all of a sudden I noticed, now there's 2 headlights. And I'm going, and I had seen some like sets of eyes lower. They're kind of whitish colored, whitish silver light is coming out. So I said, guys, I don't think we're alone. And they're like, oh. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing I thought it was out loud, are you male or female? And I'm like, me being cocky. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're all bundled up. And so I grab my blanket and I go, female. And that's all you're getting. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking, you must be, tired. You're kind of delirious here. And then I hear, please don't stop talking. I want to hear more. And so I stop and look in there, and they're like, what? Because I guess my eyeballs must have got really big. I said, didn't you guys hear that? They said, no, hear what? I said, she said to don't stop talking because she wants to hear. They're like, who's she? I said, her. And I realized they were actually sets of eyes, and they were probably 10 feet, maybe even 15 feet. It's hard for me to judge, the height of a tree, but she was pretty up there. And so, of course, human nature, we all turn around and look there. So we're looking in there into the forest, and she's looking at us. And so she started to ask a few questions. And I'm like, guys, you're not hearing this? They're like, no. I said, oh, I think this is telepathy then. I said, why is she talking to me? Why not you guys? They're like, well, just because you're chosen. I said, don't call me chosen. I'm just Gayle. But she started asking questions, and it was really amazing, this connection. And the more we started to look into the forest, I could see her outline. But it wasn't a matter of needing to see her, like to come out of the forest. The emotions that came off from her was so loving, caring, curious. I wasn't afraid. So it was really nice. And then there's a couple other people who came in, including some people who are well known, Bigfoot researchers. And they're like, oh, we saw one coming this way. They said, well, yeah, she's right there, and there's more. And then, so I started to share what she was saying. And this year happened to be the year of the terrible fires in the states. And one of them had a cigarette. So, he just went and flicked his cigarette, and I could see, it's like instantly I looked, because I guess she was looking, and her silver white eyes turned red orange. And all I could hear in my head is fire, fire, fire. And I'm like, oh, and I went there and I stepped on the cigarette, and I was like, it's okay. There's no fire. There's no fire. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I should have put that out. Like, I guess he wasn't thinking. And her eyes slowly got a little bit of the not so bright reddish orange, and then it went back to the silver white, but it was dull. And I'm just going, my God, am I really seeing this? But I felt a connection there, and it was beautiful. Never saw her come out. I don't know if I could have handled that myself. But one of my friends from Australia goes, "Hey, Gail, do you want to go in?" I'm like, "No, I kind of like standing out here connecting with her." He goes, "No, into the forest." And I'm not kidding, Diana. My legs just locked and I could not move. And I'm like, "It's okay. I think I'm fine where I'm at." It was hilarious. I go, "I know she's not going to harm me and things, but no, thank you." So that's the
Did
humanness in me, too.
did the guys go into the forest?
No, they respected it because they were afraid that if they went in, that she may have moved. So we had a good connection there. But with that encounter, right before he had, excuse me, right before he had asked me, above her, there was about maybe a foot and a half above her was another set of eyes, another set of eyes. And it was as if he was looking at us and like judging us and walking by. So I was like, they're really big in Washington State, So when he had asked me, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, they're huge. So even though I do have connections, even though they've given me messages, I have not had, I'll call it the cojones, to go
I
out there and
understand.
visit with them. I don't think I'm ready yet. Or maybe I am, but my ego is protecting me. So I'm saying, oh, not yet. Everything's good. It's been working fine so far. So let it happen.
I was curious, when she felt the fire, did you get any sense of what was about to happen, or did you get any sense of her being sad or concerned for the forest in general?
I felt her fear and concern of what they went through. It was like, I mean, I'm sure it happened in seconds, but I felt that some more of fear that she doesn't want to have this happen again. And that totally made sense to me. So I just respected that. I didn't ask any further questions. I just wanted her to calm down. And for some reason, I knew that there were young ones there too. So even more so, me being a mom, and I think everybody calls me Mama Bear. I'm like, I totally get it. So it wasn't like I had asked her, "Can you please expand on this emotions that you're feeling?" It was just like mother to mother, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right. That maternal instinct.
Exactly. That's what it felt like.
So tell me about your recent experiences.
So this was before the pandemic, and I had this vision, and it happened several times. I mean, I'm saying big because he was broad and he was tall. Sasquatch, this vision kept coming in. He says, "We need you to come to Arkansas." I'm like, Arkansas? I've never been to Arkansas. Why do we go to Arkansas? I don't get it. I said, "Gail, what are you on? You're crazy. Now you got a Sasquatch telling you to go to Arkansas. You know nothing about Arkansas." I was like, oh, but it kept happening. And I'm like, okay, well, let me go ask around and see, is there a particular place we need to go? But then when the pandemic hit, we couldn't travel. So it was last year in February, he came back again and he asked if he really would like us to come out. And I said, okay. So I asked my friend Garrett, because I remembered him saying something about he went to Arkansas. So I told him what the vision I saw. He goes, oh, I know where we need to go. And the place is called Board, Board, Board Camp Mine in Mena, Arkansas. He said this place is really interesting. There's lights that come from the ground, shoots up, and there's been some Sasquatch activity. He shared what he went through, and I said, I guess that's the place. So we just went there based on some messages I kept getting. I'm like, okay, Gail, well, they said to go with it, so we're going with it. But in a way, logically, I felt like, oh, that's okay. We can go to this place and check it out anyway. So as we getting close by, I'm asking my friend Garrett, because the Sasquatch is in the same spot. So I said, okay, is there this place? It's like a grassy area with these two pine trees, and it looks like water behind. He goes, right there. I'm like, as we drove in, going, no, that's not it. I said, I hope I didn't make this up, because that would be really pathetic. But so I'm still doubting, right? And then when we went to take our first trip, a little. So we just kind of did a quick review of a certain area. The next morning, we decided we're going to walk on this trail, which they were going to show us where the lights were and everything. And lo and behold, they had built this huge outdoor stage. So we're walking by, and I'm just saying, "Wow, this is amazing! This is a big open area. That's beautiful." In my mind, going, "That's not it, Well, we're just going." So I'm kind of disappointed in myself. But then we're walking. We took the corner, and lo and behold, exactly what I saw. And I'm looking at my friend. There it is. That's exactly what I've been seeing. And I, excuse my language, I says, I can't make this shit up. I've never been here before. So that was, amazing for me to actually see, okay, so something's right here. And, throughout our trip, we had some great experiences. And it was the last day I went ahead and did some offerings and thanking the Sasquatch for calling us. And no, it was second to the last day. And I had a friend who's there, and this has never happened before, but I was doing some offerings as thanking, and I guess Garrett had done some as well. But I took one step, and instantly I felt like the Sasquatch stepped into me and started talking, as in went into me, and it was saying, "Thank you for coming," because the landowners are really trying to see the scientific side, because the owner actually used to be an FBI and Homeland Security person. So, it makes sense. He needs to show the proof. But the Sasquatch had said, "Thank you for coming," but all of this equipment that they're using is messing with the normal energies there. And so when we went there, we did some ceremonies, we sang and, tried to bless the land. He said we were able to help adjust it to where it needed to be. And luckily my friend was there, but this is the first time that I was present. And, I was like, okay, but all of a sudden when he left, I could feel like heaviness just move. And I said, boundaries? Give me no, hey, heads up. Because normally it's like, I can feel the presence. It's almost like they're knocking, saying, Gayle, we would like to speak through you. This one was not that at all. I was like, how rude. He just jumped in and started talking. And my friend's laughing at me. She goes, I know this is new to you. She goes, but that was so cool. And I said, well, yeah, it was. And she goes, I'm just going to throw it out there. She goes, you say he jumped into you. What if you stepped into him? And I stopped going,
oh, yeah.
So,
he was there
but it was
first.
amazing. He could have been there first waiting for us for all I know, right? And then I just happened to step. So it was funny because I was like, okay. So then I said, I'm sorry. So they've been communicating, but they're not like telling me what the future holds for us, other than I've had a recurring vision of seeing a medicine or a healer forest person coming out and sitting across a fire pit from us and sharing some messages. So I feel like they're here to teach us or to help us and to rejoin, to work side by side like they did, way back when.
Right.
So I
with the Native
feel
American.
like that's going to happen. So hopefully that makes sense, because I'm kind of just sharing my interesting experiences that, they say, oh, you need to prepare for this to occur. Not mine. I just happen to walk in and then there you go.
You. Rude or not,
Sometimes, whether I'm ready or not, it happens.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier on that you have some photographs. Is that from this more recent adventure, or is there something else that's been going on?
So what I have actually, let me see if I can share the right screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So the first picture, the smaller one, I took it with my phone. Now, let me clarify something. I've never taken pictures. I've never felt the need to. But while we were there, this is happening at Board Camp Mine. They had that big open area in front of the stage, and it was at dusk, and there was just like this urging to go and take a picture or take pictures. So I was like, why? I'm like, oh, fine. Remember, trust. So I went there and I took these pictures. Now I did not see what I'm showing here, and it's kind of hard to see. So we kind of missed it. 2 weeks later, we were going to do a presentation. So we were going through it, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? So it's kind of hard to see, but If you look at this one, there's some kind of an outline of something, but it was, and this one is actually a little brightened because I took the night sight, but it was actually darker. So what I did was, because I told you I'm very logical, I need to see this out. I went back to the same place. There's nothing there that has that shape.
Wow, that is
So
cool.
somebody says, was it the one who talked to you? I says, I have no clue. Maybe. Or maybe it was somebody else. But there's something there. And the funny thing is, I had no clue. But something told me to take pictures. So, I had to go back and show, like, no, see, this is, I didn't make it up. I didn't do Photoshop. There's something there.
Right.
But we had no clue. Although, what's interesting is later on, we were at a little fire pit. I was told to sing a song. I have a bear song. It's like honoring bear, which I feel bear has a strong connection with the forest people. So I sang, and then I went, had my drum, and then I went and put my drum away, and we heard this boom. And they thought, Gayle, did you drop your drum? I said, no, I put it down nicely. And then because it was dark, and so we put a flashlight, and there was a rock almost where I was standing. And, they're like, oh my gosh. And we can tell when it's something from them because it kind of has a buzzy energy. You pick it up and it's kind of, that's the way I feel it, and I see it. And me being as sarcastic as I am, I said, really? Was I that bad that you had to throw a rock? But that was amazing that they acknowledged us.
So the rock kind of had a vibration.
Mm-hmm. In fact, my friend Garrett brought it back, but it was buzzy, but the placement, it was where no one would trip over it, and it was kind of out of the light, the ambient light from the fire. It was just interesting. And it wasn't like a small one. It was pretty big. So to throw it, I don't know if I could throw it because it was kind of big. So you're like, But, trying to make that, that was kind of scary. I don't know where that came from. So I had to break the, that little scariness and made fun of myself in my singing. All right. So let me stop, and I'm going to pull up another one. This is the one we just had, as in just meaning August. Well, I guess I didn't have to stop it. So this one is just unbelievable. Okay. So this took place it happened in Bailey, Colorado, at the Glen Isle Resort. That's where I had, it was my healer's retreat, actually. You can see it, huh?
Yeah.
So you see the face? So here's the funny thing. So my friend Danny, who's right here, right, this person here, she's like, it was late. We had a really amazing day. We called in the ancestors. We were working with them, and she's sitting there. She's going, Gayle, take a picture. I feel like something's behind me. Now, what's behind is there's a little green area, and then there's a stream, and then there's a big, they cut off a little area, and then you have the big river running through it. And so there's really nothing there. And also the cabin is probably lifted about 2 feet above. So it's whatever that is, it was really tall. But Danny kept saying, take a picture. That I feel like something's behind me. I'm like, I was tired. Oh, really? I'm fine. I'll take a picture. So the first picture I look, I said, I don't see anything. So I gave her my phone, and she knew exactly where it was. And we enhanced the contrast. I don't know about you, but I can see the eyes, nose, mouth, chin, the head, all in this area.
Oh, no, that's
and I'm
clear
going,
as day.
And, some people say it's pareidolia. Seriously? I'm pretty sure it's not pareidolia, because it aligned with Danny, who's also gifted, feeling something. Yeah. So I don't even, like, most of these things. It's probably 8 feet or more. It was kind of tall, and then we started. What was interesting is that, yes, we had a long day, but I wasn't exhausted. But I started feeling very, very tired, and I told everybody, I think we need to go to bed. It's telling us we need to go to bed. So my friend Amy and I were from a different cabin, and so we kind of got up and we went to our cabin and we went to sleep. Like I said, there's no way that we could have had somebody in a Bigfoot costume to sit there. Because, like I said, I didn't even know it. I was tired. Oh, yeah, we were playing with oracle cards too. We were trying to get some readings because the reason we went there is the lights in that room was flickering the night before. So we were trying to figure out what's the flickering from. I had no idea we were going to have somebody watching, a peeping Tom. So,
Well, he
have
wanted
I
his picture
seen them?
taken.
That was taken in August of this year. Like, I mean, really, really close. But like I said, this is another one. I had no clue. But Danny, she sent something. So I was telling her, because she had never experienced connecting with them before. She's not been on the trips that I've been. So I said, well, there you go. Now you're not a Sasquatch virgin anymore.
Wow,
So I
that's
think it actually came for
amazing.
her. And actually, one of my friends said she got a name. It popped in her head, and its name was Charlie. CHARL apostrophe capital E, because she spelled it out. I said, oh, okay, Charlie. But we're going to bed, Charlie. Don't make Danny afraid because she's sleeping. That's her bed. She's sleeping right next to the window. So be nice. And we went to bed.
That's amazing. And was that in Bailey, Colorado?
Bailey, the funny thing is because all of my experiences prior had been in other states. So I thought, well, we don't have anything in Colorado. Oh, yeah? Really, Gayle? And after that, I started having all these experiences at different places. But Glen Isle Resorts has a lot of activity. In fact, there's other Sasquatch organizations who actually want the proof things. They actually go there. And my theory is we're not here really for proof because we already know they're there. We can feel their presence as elementals. They're part of the land. And so we respect them. And we offer love and kindness. And so we're not there to prove that they're there. We're not going to disrupt their where they live just so we can get proof. And I think that's why I've had a lot more experiences because I'm really not there to prove that they're there. So when I'm thinking about it, they are trying to communicate or connect with us even more. Some of us may not be ready to see them in their full physical form. My joke is they may walk out of the forest and I might take off in the other direction and I'll come back. Sorry about that. It's just a flight or fight thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I have no idea how I'm going to respond. But if they were to come out, but I already connected and felt their loving energy, I would be okay. And there's so many people says, well, I've heard stories that they've hurt people and they've done all these things. I'm saying, I don't know. I can't speak for all the Sasquatch or the Bigfoots of the world. They could be like humans, there's good ones and there's bad ones. And I said, but this vision that popped in my head when someone first asked me, I said, okay, let me ask you this question. If a stranger just came and opened your door and walked into your house and you had your kids and everything in the living room, how would you respond? You've got your loved ones there and you want to protect them. And they said, oh, I said, so imagine we're going into their living room and they want to protect the rest of their family. So doesn't it make sense that they may become aggressive? And then they looked at me and said, I'm just repeating what I saw. I have no clue. I don't know. I don't know them very personally in that sense.
Right.
So I think I'm not one of those who would say, I'm going to write a book of all my experiences and I'm going to tell people how to make the connections. It's more like what I've learned, stay in your heart space, show the love. You can even be saying, okay, I'm kind of scared. So just don't freak me out. I think they respect that. We went back to the same place in New Mexico. We've gone there several times. I think this is probably my 10th time we've been back to what we call sheep camp. And the year prior, a good friend of mine, she has the BMW vans, like they turn into an RV. So she had one of those and she came up with us. And I think it was the first night. She was sleeping in there, and our tent was a little bit further back from her. She said she woke up because she felt something touching her leg. She said it was like soft, very soft. And then it grabbed her gently, but started to pull her. She ended up in the sink. So the back of the van has the bed, and then where the sliding door, that's where the sink was. So she ended up in that sink. She freaks out. She couldn't go back to sleep. And I got up and I was like, okay, I have to go potty. So I got up, I got out of my tent. I looked at her and her eyes were like saucers. I said, what happened? So she told me. And one of my gifts is that when someone tells me a story, I kind of get taken there, like as an observer. And I said, I'm kind of seeing a female Sasquatch. She's actually got her hand on the top of the van, which is very tall. And she's looking in, and she can somehow gently put her hands through, and was trying to pull her out. She was more curious. Like, number one, what is this big thing? Because none of us had something like that before. We always had tents. And she's like, oh my God. So this past September, when we're going up, I rode up with her. We talked about it. And she goes, okay, I'm making a rule. You guys are hearing me. She's talking to the Sasquatch. She goes, no touchy. No touchy. I've had that. No touchy. So I was like, me too. No touchy. Well, when we were up there the first night, she felt her van being lifted and shifted. Now, she wasn't in the right position. So she was kind of, like not level. So she felt the moving. And then it kind of shifted her from side to side. She's like, all right, that's it, no more. And then she felt it put down. When she got up in the morning, she looked, and you could see where the tires were, and then the moving, and there was a footprint there. So I was like, oh my God. She goes, but they didn't touch me. I said, oh, then that's good. But that same night, I felt my cot shake. I'm in a tent. I felt my cot shake a little bit. I'm like, I was sharing a tent with my friend, so I thought maybe she got up and maybe she had to put her hand on my cot or something because she was going to go out of the tent. So I opened my eyes and I look at the bottom going, that's not there. So I went to turn to look to see if she's in her bed. And Diana, I swear to God that I'm not making this up. So I'm still not sure if it was a dream or real, okay? Because it's still bizarre. I turned to look towards her. I'm like, that is a Sasquatch. I can see the arm, the hair, the hand, and some part of the body and some of the leg. And I'm like, and there was no scent, nothing. But I was trying to call to tell my friend Amy, like, Amy, but nothing came out of my mouth. And then I went back to sleep. Who the hell can fall back asleep when you get something like that, So I said, they must have put me to sleep. But the ironic thing is that my stuff was there, including a little battery generator thing that we had to run a little heater because it was cold. Could it have stood there? So I got up in the morning and I told the story. I said, that must have been a dream. And my friend says, no. And she told me what happened with her. And she goes, remember when you told me about the Sasquatch, the female Sasquatch from the year before, they could just put their hands through solid mass. She goes, so why couldn't it just stand there but not really stand there? I was like, I don't know. It didn't talk to me. It was just there. And so even to this day, I'm going, was that a dream? I don't know. But I did get woken up because my bed was shaking. My cot was shaking.
That's beautiful.
So there you have it.
Well, so in your circle of Sas, I think it's amazing. I think you have an amazing, not only amazing stories, but you have an amazing connection, and they feel comfortable connecting with you.
Yeah, it feels beautiful. I feel blessed to have that, and I've been blessed that nothing's been really scary. I mean, scary. I don't think I'd walk into the forest, but it's okay. Boundaries, I got my own boundaries. But one thing I did know is because I have a friend, I'm actually going to be in another documentary about connecting with the Bigfoot. I don't really know what the title is, but we went out there with all of their equipment, and then, so we had that. And when it was done, the filming was done. At least I thought the filming was done. They kind of followed us around. My friend Danny and I happened to, I said, you know what? We were in this, it was also in Bailey, by the way. There was like a little open field area, and then there was the forest started there. I didn't know, but there's also like a little creek there too. But I said, you know what? Let's go and tone love to the forest and thank them for allowing us to be here. So we went there to the edge and we started toning love, basically singing love in a way, and singing thank you. Just wanted to give back to the fact that we were allowed to be there. And as we're there, another person with a camera was there. We started seeing eyes, and then we started seeing the outline. And Danny looks at me, and I looked at her, going, I see it too. And even the person with the camera was like, me too. Okay, so again, it's not come full right in front of us, but we can see the outline. And I had no idea that there was another person with another camera in another area, and he was starting to see that there were others around. Wow. But all we did was gratitude, thank you. And we also left little offerings like, what did we have? Oh, Reese's peanut butter cups. For some reason, they like that, at least the ones that I've encountered.
I like it.
I have people saying, don't give them chocolate. You need to give them organic foods and all this stuff. And yeah, that's another story. But bottom line, they like the junk food probably because they don't get it all the time, right? But what I found was that after what we kind of started, there's another group with another camera went in and they started picking up more things. So I'm really curious to see what happened. So it's not all, again, I went there not trying to prove their existence. I was kind of curious too. I'd like to see what they got. But in the end, a friend of mine, he was directing it. We were just following him, following his lead. But in the end, I just felt in terms of my urban shaman piece, we need to say thank you for allowing us to be there. Sending gratitude and doing an offering of thanks, and also thanking the ancestors of the land. So that's what I did. And then activity started. So I think that's my recipe for interaction with boundaries. So there you have it. You asked me to come and tell you and talk to you about it.
I love it. I love it. I'm so curious, Gayle, just to kind of wrap this up. I mean, what I'm getting from this is that there's so much gratitude and love to be shared, both with the ancestors and sort of the keepers of the land. Am I kind of gathering that message correctly?
You are. And that's how I go out there. Even to be on the land in this area, somebody else lived there. So I want to like saying, hey guys, I don't want to trespass, so I always, even though no one else does, I ask permission to be there. And I also put some protection around because there's some weird things that were there, like deer legs hanging from a tree. I'm going, I don't know what put them, but I'm going to put protection around us just because I don't know what it is. But in the end, when we opened up our heart and showed gratitude, they appeared. So almost every encounter that I've had, we've been in our heart space. And we've been there to either as a means to thank them or to do an offering of gratitude. Someone says, why don't you call it gifting? I said, I don't know. I've always just called it offering. It's from gratitude, things. So I've had these amazing experiences. So what I recommend, if anybody's saying they want to go hunt for them, they want to go look for them, that is your choice. But understand you're going into their home. So, really be considerate. They do live in families. So again, just think about it, how you would protect your family. They will protect theirs. Like we will say, oh, this is a beautiful site. Let's set our camp up. Well, you just put your stuff in my backyard. Really? How rude. So, I don't claim to know all the answers. I don't claim to, have I seen footprints before? Yes. I've not casted them. I'm like, beautiful. Thank you for showing us that you're here. Not that it's wrong. It's just not the way I work. And, I don't need, that's why I keep saying, I don't need the proof. Even when I didn't see them in a physical form, I could feel them in my heart. And the connections, and what was coming through, I had learned, as I mentioned, you just trust. And I've been lucky. It's been beautiful. And so that's one of the many things that I've encountered. And as a shaman, or urban shaman as I call, it is part of honoring the way, like nature, and communing with nature, connecting with them, and kind of being like a liaison, a mediator, an ambassador. So I feel like that's where my role is. And one day they may come out of the forest and they may start communicating with us and maybe teach us what we've forgotten and help us, especially with all the chaos that's going on in the world. Normally, when I get like this, they're trying to speak to me.
I know. I think that's why we keep getting interrupted, because the vibration's really high. Is there a message that they want to share?
Let me see what they want to say. Okay. So the presence I feel, his name is Camus. I was introduced to him from my friend Sanbo. Camus is an elder. And he is also like an ambassador of their race as well. So I'm going to allow him to speak, if you don't mind. Dear ones, I am honored that you have chosen to learn more about my people. We are not here to harm, but to coexist. We learn from you, and we would like to also share our knowledge with you. There has been times in the past that we had coexisted and had a beautiful family together. We wish to reunite and to stand side by side to face whatever is coming. There may be those from different worlds that may be presenting themselves, as this one calls first encounters. We will be there to ensure your safety. For not all come with good intentions. Not all come who speak truth. So we wish to join with you to protect this beautiful planet, our home and yours. But dear ones, do not fear of what might come, for others who come of the heart are also working to protect, to assist, to guide, and to love all of you who exist on this planet. There may be many who will start to connect with my kind, and we ask of your assistance in, what is the word? Joining, not right word. Integrating, that is the word. Integrating with your kind, so there may not be but peaceful joining. I thank you, Diana, for being one of the ambassadors to share the messages and to broaden and prepare people of your planet of the changes that will be coming. As this one says, staying heart-centered will make the changes less difficult. I thank you once again, and now it is time for me to go. Much gratitude and love. Wow, I didn't think he would come forward.
Okay.
I'm feeling kind of high at the moment, so
Yeah, I get it.
but he allowed me to listen in. Not that he prevented it before, but I think it was important for me to hear.
Oh,
So there
good.
may be people out there who've been having those odd visions like me, who are starting to get messages. Trust, stay in your heart space. And yeah, it's okay to be afraid because we're human, but trust that it's okay. And when we can kind of get out of our own way, amazing things may happen. But I feel like we got this. We're okay. There's not going to be the terrible, someone's going to come and try to take over the world. No, we're too strong. We are strong together. We're strong united. And not as just the United States, but the whole planet. So we need to stop seeing those borders and knowing that we are all of one race, the human race, and we are all of one family. Or as we say in Hawaii, we're all one ohana. So thank you, Diana. This was beautiful, great opportunity for me to share.
Thank you. I could
You had no idea, huh? I had no idea either.
Not a clue. Not a clue. And I could feel that in my heart. It was as though my heart was being pierced. So I'm a little, I hope this message is felt throughout the world and throughout our galaxy as it, as he said, we will be encountering some things very soon, likely, that may be phrased in a way that could be scary or harmful. And if we remain in our hearts, in that heart vibration, we're fine. We're safe. We're at ease with one another. But to remain in that heart, even when we're at our most frightened.
If we don't see somebody as so different from us, but actually being one, being the same, we're all human, it gives you a different point of view. And I think I was very blessed growing up in Hawaii because there were so many different cultures. Half the time I didn't know where something that we did, excuse me, like using salt to do blessings. Was that Hawaiian? Was that Japanese? Both are islands, so I had no clue. But I knew that was what I do, and I actually still only use salt from Hawaii when I do house clearings or to create sacred space, because for me, that is my connection. And so I take that. So be true to who you are, your real you, not the person you think others want to see, and start to follow the path that brings you joy. And I believe that is what we are all meant to be doing. And if you don't know what it is, it's a great time to try to figure it out. So there we go. I'm always amazed when Kamu comes in. Beautiful, beautiful being, beautiful soul. He was one of the first Sasquatch that came through that I channeled. And that was also in Chihuahua. And if you remember, I said that I don't remember that they kind of take me out, I'm somewhere else. Well, there were only 5 of us the first time we went to Chihuahua, and we were in an outdoor amphitheater. And Sunbo, the one who's connected with Kamu, he said he walked into the amphitheater and he looked and he saw us because it was in the evening, but he saw Kamu standing behind me. And he said what he heard, how I was speaking, was how Kamu spoke. And I was just amazed, because I said, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like I'm disappear, so I don't know what happens. But that really felt good in my heart. And I also realized, okay, obviously I didn't make that one up because the one who works with Kamu validated for me. So, some people say, just believe and trust and go with the flow. Like I started with, this girl really doesn't know how to go with the flow.
Right.
I try.
So I know people are going to listen to this and they're going to want to contact you. So what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Okay. So I have an email address that they can go ahead and send, because it seems to be one of the easier ways, or they could follow me on Facebook. So my email address, it's GEAFGIFTS at Comcast, COMCAST.net. And my you can look under my Facebook page. I think it's GEAFGIFTS. I think it's all caps GEAF. No, I'm sorry. It's lowercase GEAFGIFTS info, INFO. And on my Facebook page, you'll also see the events that I have. And in May, we're going to have I call it the Teachings of the People of the Forest retreat. And so there'll be more information there. And it'll be at Glen Isle in Bailey, Colorado.
Fantastic. Maybe I'll have to come to that.
Oh, that would be amazing. So much fun.
It really would be. It'd be a lot of fun.
All the stuff we did. And a lot of things happen that, you're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Or did that really happen? The last time, I know there's bears there, but there's a fish head about that big in the middle of the road, right in front of where we had our meeting place. And we were in those cabins. I did not hear a thing going, and that was a big fish. I said, I wonder if that's a sign, or there was just a bear who says, I don't want to eat the head, we're not sure. But, that was surprising. And I even asked the owners of the property, they said, we've never had like a fish that big there. So I'm just happy, and we're just get to share it with others. And that's what it's all about.
It sounds beautiful. I want to thank you and say the name Kamul.
Camus, yes.
For being present.
So now that you've connected and the others have connected, don't be surprised if you start to feel or start to sense more or start receiving messages, because Camus is the ambassador, and he's an elder. He is very dark black. He has a few white. He's laughing at me because I'm trying to point this out to show he's an elder. It doesn't matter. But his presence, my gosh, I'm in awe whenever he's around. It just feels so beautiful. And everyone has their own forest people guides. They may show in the spirit form or only in the spiritual realm, or they may show in person. Mm-hmm. I can't guarantee you how they present, but if you open up your heart and allow them, they will come. And if you're like me saying, I kind of need proof and I'm not making it up, they may leave you gifts. So just watch and see and go from there. Then start working with them by, like you're saying, ask questions or leave them peanut butter cups,
I will definitely leave peanut butter cups. I might have a few myself, but
2 for you, 1 for me, I mean, sometimes this is just us being silly, but we'll take it. We'll kiss it and then we'll put it there saying, we're saying it with love. Thank you for, asking me to come out. This is the kind of things that I'm being told I need to do to help people understand, to share that. Someone's saying, well, are you going to be traveling around doing that? Says, if that's what's, meant to be, but I do have a day job. So I have my muggle job and I do have my own business too. So whatever they want me to do, they're going to have to provide because, it is what it is. But yeah, it makes a difference. Even if they sing to them. Even if you don't sing nice, that doesn't matter. Singing never means I've come to harm you. So that's my closing.
Well, thank you, Gayle. I hope to see you again in person, actually. And I would love to have you back on the show again. I think there's going to be a big reaction to this.
I'd love to be there. I do a lot of things for free as well, like the one you were talking about with you first heard about me. Mm-hmm. This is not something that I'm supposed to keep a secret. And so thank you.
You bet. My pleasure. I will list all of the ways to connect with you in the description and then also in Meetup, which is actually how I connected with you. So others can share. And then also
I have a website too. So in my email, it has all the connection information. So thank you. This was fun.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gayle. And have a beautiful, beautiful weekend.
You too.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Soul Fam podcast. Be sure to tune in to every episode where we dive into a different rabbit hole of the known and unknown to empower you in conscious living and exploration of the greater universe. We hope you leave each episode with a little stardust in your hair and inspiration in your heart. With love from your Soul Fam.